parties, environmental and public interest groups, and utility companies that may be affected that are not the applicant. Next slide. Parties have certain rights and obligations. As an obligation, they must comply with procedural rules and directives of the administrative law judges. And they also have the right to engage in discovery, present expert testimony, participate in evidentiary hearings, file motions and legal briefs, and participate in settlement negotiations. Next slide. An applicant is required to establish an intervenor fund, and intervenor funds are available to municipalities and other parties to be used for retaining expert witnesses, consultants, and lawyers, or just used in a way that contributes to making an informed decision as to the appropriateness of the site and facility. The purpose of the funds is to encourage broad public participation. So in this case, the New York Power Authority included an intervenor funding fee of $450,000, and notice of this intervenor funding was issued on January 4th, 2022. At least half of that fund, of the total fund, is available to municipal parties, and the remainder is available for other parties. You can find more information on the requirements for requesting intervenor funds in Article 7 regulations at Part 85-2.4. And while funds may be used for legal fees, they cannot be used to legally challenge a decision made by the Public Service Commission. Next slide. So this is an overview of the typical timeline for an Article 7 case. First, newspaper notices are published prior to filing the application. Next, any supplements to the application will be filed, and the application must be determined complete in order for the case to go forward. In this case, the application was determined complete on December 24th, 2021. Then public statement hearings will be held within 60 to 90 days after the application is deemed complete. For SmartPath Connect, there are 2 public statement hearings scheduled, both for today, one now in the afternoon, and the other is going to be this evening. After public statement hearings, a procedural conference is scheduled. Next slide. So this is the list of the typical steps that is taken when a case is going the litigation route. First, there will be identification of alternate routes. The applicant will pre-file direct testimony along with DPS staff and interveners. In this case, the applicant's New York Power Authority and National Grid pre-filed their direct testimony on June 15th, 2021. All parties to the proceeding will then pre-file rebuttal testimony. And there will be evidentiary hearings and site visits if needed. The parties will then submit initial briefs followed by reply briefs. After briefing, the administrative law judges will issue a recommended decision, and the party will then file briefs on any exceptions to the recommended decision. And finally, the Public Service Commission will issue their decision. Next slide. So there are 3 phases to a litigated case: the evidentiary phase, the briefing phase, and the decision phase. Article 7 was amended in 2020 to require the Public Service Commission issue a decision 12 months after an application is determined compliant or when the compliance letter is issued. So that means that all 3 phases would need to be completed within this 12-month timeframe. However, if settlement negotiations begin, the 12-month clock is tolled for the amount of time the parties are in settlement. So to provide an explanation of the 3 phases, first is the evidentiary phase, when the applicant and other parties to the proceeding present their direct case. The parties will also respond to other parties' cases in their rebuttal, and proposed settlements may occur during this phase. Parties may also exchange discovery requests to gather more information during the evidentiary phase. Next is the briefing phase, and during this phase, parties will summarize the evidence and the arguments presented. The schedules for evidentiary and briefing phases are developed after settlement negotiations end. So at this stage, SmartPath Connect, or for the SmartPath Connect project, the evidentiary and briefing schedules have not been set because the parties are currently in settlement. Next slide. So lastly, there's the decision phase, and this is when the administrative law judges review the information in the record and arguments made in the briefs and prepare an analysis of the issues. The judges may issue a recommended decision to the Public Service Commission, and the parties will then reply to the recommended decision and dispute any of the judges' analyses or recommendations. The parties are usually given the opportunity to dispute conclusions of other parties as well. The commission will then review everything and issue an order with an explanation of their decision. A party may appeal the commission's decision within 30 days and seek a rehearing, but only parties to a proceeding can appeal the commission decision. Next slide. In issuing their decision, the commission is required to make certain findings, including the basis for the need for the facility, the nature of the probable environmental impacts, and the efforts made to minimize the facility's impacts on agricultural lands, wetlands, parks, rivers, etc. Next slide. The commission must also make findings that the facility has a minimum adverse impact on farming operations, whether any part of the project should be completed underground, findings that the project conforms with long-range electric plans, and findings that the project conforms with state and local laws. The commission may also waive local laws or requirements that are considered unreasonably restrictive. So an example of a local law that may be unreasonably restrictive is a law that includes a maximum building height limit that is less than the height of a proposed utility pole. Or another example would be a local law that restricts certain types of fencing or signage that is needed around electrical equipment for public safety reasons. Overall, the commission must find that the facility will serve the public interest, convenience, and necessity. So the commission has several options when issuing its decision. It may grant a certificate with appropriate conditions, and these conditions may include impact mitigation measures or alternate locations or designs. It may also approve of a proposed settlement if applicable, and it can deny an application if the facility is not needed or if the commission is not able to make any of their required findings. Next slide. If the commission grants the certificate, the applicant is required to provide very detailed plans called Environmental Management and Construction Plans, or EM&CP. The EM&CP includes everything that is needed to construct the project, and copies of the EM&CP are distributed in the same manner as the application and are subject to review and comment by both the parties and the public. The public can review the EM&CP on the PSC website. The commission must approve of the EM&CP and may require additional conditions as well. Next slide. After the EM&CP is approved, the certificate holder will acquire the needed rights of way and property rights, and then construction will begin in accordance with the approved EM&CP. After the facility is constructed, site restoration begins, also in accordance with the EM&CP, and the right-of-way will continue to be managed in accordance with the most current long-term right-of-way vegetation management plan that has been approved by the commission. Next slide. So you're able to review the Smart Path Connect application online at the PSC website provided on this slide. That's www.dps.ny.gov/article.vii.htm. There's additionally a guide to the certification review process, links to other Article 7 cases, and Article 7 regulations on the PSC website. Next slide. If you would like to file a comment, there are a couple ways to do so. So you can make a statement orally today at the public statement hearing. You can also write to the Public Service Commission. The address to do so is provided here on the slide. And you can write a statement by emailing the commission at secretary@dps.ny.gov. You may also call and provide a comment by phone at 1-800-335-2120. And when making a comment, either by writing in or calling in, please be sure to reference the case number. Again, that's 21T0340, just so we know which project you're making a comment on. All comments will be summarized and posted onto DMM on the PSC website. You can find this on DMM under the Public Comments tab for the case. So thank you so much for joining us today and participating in this important project and process.
Thank you very much. For those who may have joined us a little late, again, we are here for an information session and public statement hearing for case 21T0340. We just concluded a presentation by Department of Public Service staff. And next up, we will have a presentation by the applicant, Mr. Chris DeRoberts, will provide a brief presentation about the proposed project. And with that, I will hand over the microphone to Mr. DeRoberts.
Great, thanks, Your Honor. Second, slides up. Okay, is everybody seeing the slides?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, hello again. I'm Chris DeRoberts. I'm the manager of licensing in the project development and licensing group here at NYPA. I'm part of the team that developed the Article 7 application for the Smart Path Connect project. My goal today is to provide you with a high-level overview of this transformative project, which is needed to improve the resiliency of the New York State electrical grid and more efficiently transport renewable generated power through the state. In fact, the Smart Path Connect project was selected by the Public Service Commission to facilitate the advancement of the state's clean energy goals. Before I get into the details of the project, I wanted to give you a little background on the Power Authority. We are the largest state-owned public power organization in the nation. We own and operate 16 generating facilities and 1,400 miles of transmission line throughout the state. We finance all of our operations through electricity revenue, so no taxpayer dollars or state credit is used. And we've completed over 6,000 energy efficiency projects statewide to date, with more underway. Our co-participant in the project, National Grid, they currently deliver electricity and natural gas, to more than 20 million people in New York, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. They provide electric service to 1.7 million customers in Eastern, Central, Northern, and Western New York. And in New York, National Grid owns and operates more than 6,500 miles of transmission line, including about 500 miles of 230 kV transmission lines, 680 miles of 345 kV lines, and they have a little over 700 substations. National Grid is owned, operated, and maintained the Adirondack to Porter transmission line that's going to be rebuilt as part of this project for the past 60 years. I want to go over a little bit of the background on development of the project and how we got here today. We saw some of these dates earlier, but in April of 2020, New York State approved the Accelerated Renewable Energy Growth and Community Benefit Act that directed NYPA to propose transmission line projects that are needed to help meet the state's clean energy goals. In July of 2020, NYPA filed its petition for a priority transmission project with the PSC. Then in October of 2020, PSC designated the Smart Path Connect project as a priority project that should move forward under the Article 7 process. In March of 21, National Grid was selected as NYPA's co-participant in the project. And we filed our Article 7 application in June of last year. And then in December of 2021, we received our application completeness determination. So what is the SmartPath Connect project? We have about 100 miles of transmission line rebuild, and we're rebuilding and upgrading the lines to either 230 or 345 kV. We have upgrades and replacements of about 10 substations, including construction of 4 new substations. And the northern alignment of the project from Messina to Clinton consists of NYPA's transmission and substation components. The southern alignment from Krogan to Marcy consists of National Grid's transmission and substation components, as well as 2 NYPA substations. And both parts of this project will connect to NYPA's SmartPath project you mentioned earlier, and that's currently under construction, running from Messina to Krogan. What are the goals of the project? We're improving the existing asset condition. In some cases, the poles and wires are over 50 years old. Going to be increasing the transmission system resilience to severe weather events and upgrading from wood to steel poles and to current design standards. The project's going to create local jobs and opportunities for suppliers during construction. So as I said, the SmartPath Connect project has several components. The northern alignment, again, is NYPA's portion, generally runs from Messina to Clinton and traverses the towns you see there listed there on the slide. First part of the project is approximately 36 miles of transmission rebuild from Messina to the Willis substation in Chattagay, with about 400 structures being replaced and constructed. The second part of the project is about 9 miles of rebuild between Chattagay and Clinton, with about 130 new structures proposed. And with that rebuild, the existing wood and H-frame structures within the corridor are going to be replaced with steel monopoles. We also in this segment have work at our existing substations, seen here in the gray dots. We have a new Haverstock substation outside of Messina, as well as a new Willis substation being constructed in Chattagay. For the southern portion of the project, it primarily consists of the upgrade of National Grid's Adirondack to Porter 230 kV line to 345 kV. There are approximately 55 miles of existing right-of-way between Krogan and Marcy, traversing the towns you see listed there. There will be about 645 new 345 kV steel monopole structures installed along the existing transmission lines, replacing the existing 230 kV wood H-frame structures. In addition, there's going to be approximately 1 mile extension to an existing 230 kV circuit, comprising approximately 12 new 230 kV steel monopoles. That's in the same corridor in the vicinity of Austin Road and at the new Austin Road substation. NYPA's work in the southern portion of the project includes construction of a new Adirondack substation next to the existing station in Krogan, as well as a small expansion of our Marcy substation within the NYPA-owned property in Marcy. What will these upgrades look like? So at the top of the diagram, you can see the existing transmission lines as they are configured today. As you can see, the existing lines are made primarily of wooden H-frames, and each structure is about 550 feet away from the next. The bottom of the diagram is our proposed design. So the transmission line will stay within the existing right-of-way, but the structures are proposed to be further apart from each other, generally about 700 to 900 feet instead of the existing 550 feet. The longer distance between the spans, along with switching from the steel or from the H-frames to the steel monopoles, will give a more streamlined appearance reducing our actual footprint on the ground and reducing visual clutter as you look down the right-of-way. Note that our proposed transmission line right-of-way width is staying the same, with the rebuild within the existing corridor. So the upper left diagram here represents a portion of the project from Chattagay to Clinton. That consists of two double circuit 230 kV lines. The upper right diagram represents the remainder of that same circuit, and that consists of a single circuit and double circuit 230 kV lines. But we should focus on the diagram at the bottom represents the majority of how the rest of the project's going to look along both the northern and southern segments of the project with two single circuit structures designed to operate at 345 kV. Just a quick overview of the permitting efforts on the project, just to highlight a few things, were also mentioned before. So the project is going through the Article 7 process that we heard about earlier. Our environmental management and construction plan is in development. And as we heard, it describes how the project is going to be built and how we're avoiding or minimizing our environmental impact on the landscape. All of our regulating agencies provide input throughout the Article 7 and the EM&C process. And as was mentioned, the public has the opportunity to comment and provide input throughout this process, such as at this session today. Discuss a little bit of our public outreach efforts to date. So they include a series of public outreach webinars that we gave in April of 2021. Both NYPA and National Grid notified all the affected landowners of the filing of the project's application, as well as of the information session we're having now. We set up phone numbers where the public can contact us. Those are listed here. We also have a project website set up where information on the project can be found. Public outreach is ongoing, in the field and will continue throughout this project. Now, I just want to provide a brief overview of some of the activities that you'll see during construction. As I mentioned, construction will take place primarily within the existing right-of-way, and includes a wide range of areas and landscapes, each with their own challenges. Be showing some photos that'll hopefully provide an understanding of how the work is going to be done and how we limit our impacts to landowners and to the environment to the greatest extent possible. What can you expect to see during the construction? We'll be establishing project laydown yards for our equipment and materials. We lay out our erosion sediment controls and coordinate access roads and access with landowners. You'll see the access road construction and installation of the foundations. Then you'll see the structures being constructed, followed by helicopters assisting in pulling in the wire, and finally site restoration. So here are a couple of pictures of what typical storage yards may look like. Photo on the left has our temporary matting and equipment used to place the matting for access roads through wetlands and agricultural properties. Notice the silt fence, which is the dark black line around the perimeter of the site that delineates the usable area of the site and controls runoff from impacting any off-site resources. This silt fence or other erosion and sediment control measures will be used throughout the project, and they're identified in our EM&CP. Photo on the right here is an example of a laydown yard with all of the structure components, including the poles, the arms that go on the pole, the wire, and any of the other equipment used during construction. So here's a couple of pictures showing how timber mats will be moved to the project. And access road construction is likely one of the first activities that'll be seen when we get started. Photo on the left shows an over-the-road truck that delivers matting right to the site, and then the orange piece of equipment in the background is placing the mats along the right of way. Photo on the right shows off-road equipment, and you can tell with the bigger tires there. And those are used to move mats further back into areas off the right of way, from road crossings, that can't otherwise be easily accessed. So here we want to show, what the existing right of way looks like and what the right of way may look like during construction. So the photo on the left here gives you a good view of the project limits of disturbance used, using both existing gravel roads that are seen on the right and then the matted roads that come off of that to the different work areas. Our equipment is confined to these access roads. The roads and pads are just big enough really to accommodate the equipment, and the roads go directly to where they are needed, leaving much of the right-of-way undisturbed, as you can see here. At the bottom of this left-hand photo, you can see that the road goes by an existing H-frame structure to be removed, as well as right to the new pad where the new structure is going to be constructed. The photo on the right here shows what a typical drill rig may look like, and this is one of the first construction pieces of equipment that you'll see once the roads are in. The drill rigs are used to drill holes for the foundations, which can range from up to 30 inches wide up to 12 feet wide in some cases, and can be up to 60 feet or more in the ground. We generally have two types of foundations on the project, either a direct embed foundation, as you see here, where simply a hole's dug and the structure in this case is being lowered right into the hole to then be backfilled. The other type of foundation is a poured concrete foundation, where a hole would be dug and then a rebar cage and anchor bolt cage are put in the hole and filled with concrete, and the structure then sits on top of that concrete foundation and is attached with the anchor bolts. Photo on the right here is showing the top of a structure being moved into position. As I mentioned before, we do use helicopters during construction to assist with the wire pulling. Photo on the left shows how once the structure is up, we use a helicopter to pull in first a nylon rope that then pulls in a cable, and then that cable is used to pull in the conductor. The helicopter comes along, clips that nylon rope into the pulleys that are on the structure, and using this approach, we can work between 3 to 6 miles with the helicopter at a time, and there's no impact on the ground since we're just flying into each structure. That helps limit our environmental impact and is a lot quicker since we don't have to physically climb each structure as we're pulling in the wire. Photo in the middle there shows, when there is an issue sometimes during the wire pull that something needs to be corrected. We'll fly a line person into the structure to correct the issue. Maybe it's a pulley that got twisted or a line that popped out, so that the line person corrects that and we carry on with the wire pull. Photo on the right shows the cable cars that are used during the final clipping in of the wire. And here personnel are installing spacers on the conductors to help keep them from slapping together during wind or other storm events. For our construction schedule, we're hoping to get through our Article 7 and NEM and CP approvals in order to start construction later this year. And we plan to have the project in service by the end of 2025. As I mentioned earlier, public outreach does continue throughout the project. If you have any questions or would like to reach someone to discuss the project team can be reached at the phone numbers, emails, and website shown here. That, Judge, I'll turn it back over to you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. At this point, if we have any questions about the process, I will try to answer them. Folks can electronically raise their hand. And I think we'll get directions on how to do that up in just a second. But at this point, it is 1:38. We have about 20 minutes before the public statement hearing starts. We cannot start that early. We will start that right at 2 o'clock. And there are some directions for anyone who has a question about today's process or anything we just went over. Please raise your hand. If I do not see any, we'll just start again at 2 o'clock, or we'll probably come online a little bit before to make sure we have everyone we need. And I'm not seeing any hands or questions.
I'm not seeing any hands raised either, Your Honor.
Okay.
If you've called in, hit *3 on your telephone. And if you've called in electronically, you should see a hand down in the right-hand corner of your screen. You click on that, it'll raise your hand, and then we can see where you are. Thanks, Charlotte.
Thank you. Okay, again, I don't see any hands raised or questions, so we will start at 2 o'clock with our formal public statement hearing, but we will be on the line until then. Thank you very much to the presenters.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the public statement hearing and information session for the New York Power Authority and National Grid transition siting proceeding. Your line is muted upon entry. The information or the public statement hearing will begin promptly at 2 o'clock. For any technical difficulties, please call 1-800-342-3330. That's 1-800-342-3330. I'll come back on in a few minutes to read that information again for those who have joined by phone. Thank you very much. Good afternoon and welcome to the information session and public statement hearing for New York Power Authority and National Grid Article 7 transmission siting proceeding. Case 20T0340. Your line has been muted upon entry. The hearing will begin at 2 p.m. For any technical difficulties, please call 1-800-342-3330, 1-800-342-3330. Thank you.
Hi, this is Commissioner Majori.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Majori.
Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. This is Tony Balsito with the Department of Public Service. We are here for case 21T0340. We're just about to get started with the public statement hearing. Mr. Hubbard, are you ready?
I am ready.
Excellent. We'll go on the record.
Oh.
I call case 21T0340, application of New York Power Authority and Niagara Mohawk Power Corporation, doing business as National Grid, for a certificate of environmental compatibility and public need for the rebuild of approximately 100 linear miles of existing 230 kilovolt to either 230 or 345 kilovolt, along with associated substation upgrades along the existing NYPA Moses Willis 1 and 2, Willis Patnode, Willis Ryan, and National Grid's Adirondack Porter 11, 12, and 13 lines in Clinton, Franklin, St. Lawrence, Lewis, and Oneida counties, New York. Good afternoon. We are here today for a public statement hearing that was noticed on January 11th, 2022. This public statement hearing concerns an application by New York Power Authority, or NYPA, and Niagara Mohawk Power Corporation, doing business as National Grid, for a certificate of environmental compatibility and public need for an electric transmission project in Clinton, Franklin, St. Lawrence, Lewis, and Oneida counties. The project includes upgrading several existing circuits to increase power transfer capabilities throughout northern New York. My name is Anthony Valcito. I'm an administrative law judge for the Department of Public Service. I am presiding over the hearings in this case and the development of a record in this proceeding. Also with us this afternoon is Public Service Commissioners, Diane Berman and John Majori, who will be listening to your comments today. The application is being reviewed pursuant to Article 7 of the Public Service Law. Prior to the construction, the applicants must obtain a certificate of environmental compatibility and public need from the Public Service Commission. This public statement hearing is being held to receive comment on whether the Commission should grant such a certificate. The purpose of this hearing is to provide you with an opportunity to tell the Commission your thoughts on the proposed project. The statements you make today will become part of the case record. The hearing is being recorded, and a transcript of it will be included in the official record of this proceeding. This hearing is not an evidentiary hearing or a question and answer session, but rather a forum to hear comments from members of the public. This is not the only opportunity for public comment. If you did not register to speak at today's hearing, or you would like to add comments to the record, there are other ways. You can submit comments on the Commission's website, by email, regular mail, or by phone. Regardless of how the comments are submitted, they are given equal consideration. We do ask that you summarize lengthy comments you may have today and then submit your full comments in written form by mail or email. As stated in the notice, we ask people to register if they want to make a statement at today's hearing. There are people who registered and are participating electronically, and others who registered and are participating by phone. Whether you registered by phone or electronically, you should only have audio input from one device. Otherwise, problems with feedback may occur. All of you were muted upon entry to the hearing. I will call speakers who have registered one by one, and only that person's line will be unmuted. For people participating by telephone, when I call your name, press *3 on your phone so that we can recognize you and unmute your line. It may take a moment for us to locate you and unmute your line, so please make sure to wait until you hear a beep or are notified that your line has been unmuted before you start speaking. If you have muted your own telephone, you will also have to unmute your line on your end. For people participating electronically, after I call your name, we will unmute your line. You should hear a tone and see that the microphone icon is no longer red. Again, if you muted your line on your end, you will have to unmute your line before you speak. Please speak slowly and clearly so the court reporter can accurately capture your statement for the record. When your line is unmuted, please state your name, and if you are speaking on behalf of an organization, the name of the organization. Once we confirm that we can hear you, you can proceed to make your comments. Today, we have currently one registered speaker, and that is Catherine Skopik. Ms. Skopic, are you on the line? Again, hit *3 so we can recognize you. Again, Catherine Skopic.
No one has raised their hand, Your Honor.
Okay, at this time, we don't have any other folks pre-registered to speak. Since we do have time, I will open the floor to anyone who is on the line or attending electronically. If you would like to make a statement, please raise your hand or unmute your line. Press *3 if you are calling. And I don't see anyone who's expressed an interest.
Neither do I,
Joe,
Your
do
Honor.
okay.
Thank you.
Then we will go off the record, but we will hold the phone line open until 2:20 to see if anyone joins the call or enters the WebEx electronically. So, Mr. Hubbard, we are off the record.
Okay.
But we'll keep the phone lines open in case anyone does join the call.
Okay, we're off the record.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Your Honor,
Yes.
we have a raised hand.
Okay. I don't see it.
It's Mr. Ronald Seavey, I believe it's Mr. Seavy.
Okay, Mr. Seavey, would you like to make a statement?
Yes. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yes, I can. You would like to make a statement for the public record?
Well, it's more of a question than a statement, but.
Okay. You can ask the question, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
Excuse me, is this on the record?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
The question is, I'm in Marcy, very close to the, I think it's the Fitzpatrick substation. So I'm wondering when they make these storage areas for the poles and the wooden blankets or whatever they call them, it's going to be a big area, more than you can put on the right of way. So are they going to need more area from other participants along the line? They'll probably be what? I don't know, maybe 25 miles apart. I don't know how many they're going to have. I'm thinking they'll have, well, they will notify us, right? And when would they start doing that?
I assume you're talking about laydown areas and storage of construction supplies and equipment?
Yes, yes.
Okay. The application should have included proposed locations for those. So actually, I'll ask if there's anyone on the line for the applicant that can answer that question. If not, I will get you a phone number, Mr. Seavey, and we can get that question directed to the right people and get you an answer.
Okay, great.
But first, if there's someone from the applicant that would feel comfortable answering that question.
Your Honor, I'm just going to mute Mr. Seavey and is it Chris? Are you going to answer the question?
Sure, I can take a crack at it. Laydown yards may comprise of both company-owned and other outside commercial properties. Typically, the responsibility is on our contractors to go out and identify. And I'll speak at least for NYPA. Typically our contractors are tasked to go out and identify different yards, whether it's other commercial properties or whatnot, and then negotiate leases and whatnot with, other private owners to own and operate those contractor laydown yards throughout the construction period. So typically the yards are not on the existing right away in the manner that you saw there. Matting and other materials will be stored in smaller quantities, of course, to facilitate the construction, but not at the scale that we showed in the pictures. Those were both off-site properties that were used in that case. That helps answer the question.
Thank you, Chris. Your Honor, we have another hand raised. I'm not sure if Ronald got his answer. Do you want to ask him first? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Seavey. Yeah.
Yeah, that answered the question. So
okay, great. Thank you, sir. Okay, so Your Honor, we have Stephen Haller on the line.
Okay. Mr. Haller,
he got off, sir. He's not.
Okay.
Nope. So,
oh, you're there. You're back. Okay, Stephen's back.
yeah. Apologies.
In and out.
My hand was raised 2 to respond to the question. Actually, I'm with National Grid. So,
Oh,
Mr.
thank
Seavey, we can, just to let you know, we can have our stakeholder group reach back out to you. I know you've spoken to them in the past as well. So,
Okay. So if you could confirm that someone will reach out to Mr. Seavey, that would be excellent.
yep, I do have confirmation that they'll try and give you a call today.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We appreciate that.
Yep, thank you.
No other hands raised at this time, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll wait just another 5 minutes to see if we have anyone else join us or anyone else change their mind, and then we'll start again at 5 o'clock. All right, one final call for anyone interested in making a statement at today's hearing. I do not see any hands raised. Okay, so we will go on the record again just to conclude the hearing.
Okay, one moment. Okay, we're on the record.
Excellent, thank you. I want to thank everybody today for participating. We also want to thank the Department of Public Service Office of Consumer Service staff for administrating this session and our court reporter. The hearing is now concluded and we are off the record.
Okay, we are off the record.
All right, thank you everyone for participating, and we will start this evening's information session promptly at 5 o'clock. Thank you again.
Thank you. Your Honor, okay to shut down now?
Yes, please.
Thank you.